So this is what my calendar usually looks like. Every single month at our agency, we book about 300, at least 300 calls every single month, right? Between my partner and I. And it's not necessarily always because, like we can honestly just book more. Like we can literally just book more than 300, maybe more than 400, 500, right? But, there's only a limited capacity to how many calls we can take because, we're still human beings at the end of the day, right? But understand that like these weeks they all look pretty consistent, right? And we are not running any ads, we're not running any like marketing, anything outside. We're literally just doing this through one single channel. Okay, so I'll kind of show you guys what that looks like in the process in a bit, right? But essentially, this is what the process looks like on a high level, in which it might look like a decent amount of information right now, but promise you guys, it's extremely easy to take care of this. Okay, so what we do is high volume cold email. All right. And you guys have probably heard about this in the past somewhere on YouTube, right? I understand that, right? But there is a big difference between how you're doing it, right? That can make it so that you're doing it correctly and doing it wrong, right? Some of you probably already ran campaigns in the past and it just didn't work, right? No surprise there. All right. But understand that I'm going to simplify it for you guys to a point where you guys understand, right? But three things you need. Okay. Good lead list, good copy, and good email sequencer, in which the third one is the most important, in which is probably more or less the reason why you guys are not getting results, right? But here's right here the actual process behind what that looks like. Here's a structure. So we call it the pitch engine just because, like it's just something like a title we put on it, right? But the idea of how it works is that here's your primary domain. So all of you have a website. You guys should already have a website launched already, right? You just make subdomains underneath of it that looks like identical or not identical, like looks similar, right? So let's say my domain is google.com, right? My subdomain will be googlemail.com, googlehq.com, or googleoutreach.com, stuff like that, right? You make 2 to 3 email accounts underneath each one if you guys are using Google providers, in which I'll show you guys what that kind of looks like. There's different Google providers out there, right? Definitely don't pay for the actual main Google workspaces because I think it's like $7 each email account, and which is as expensive. You know what I mean? We are getting it for about $2.5 each email account, right? So definitely don't buy it from the main Google Workspace. But essentially, on the screen here, you see about 10 email accounts, right? And about 5 subdomains. But honestly, have a lot more volume. Get like 50 subdomains, get like 150 email accounts. They'll send up to about 3,000 emails every single business day. That's kind of the gist, right? You want volume to be involved here, right? We don't want to be like sending micro volume here. Doesn't make sense to do that, right? But essentially, these subdomains, you can source them from Pork Bun, GoDaddy, right? There's many per domain providers out there that you can just purchase, right? We prefer to use .com domains, but you guys can decide for yourselves if you want to use .info, stuff like that, right? The cheaper ones. But essentially, this is the first step when it comes to actually building the campaign, right? So making a lead list, right, should be easy, but it's not necessarily easy made by a lot of databases that exist currently. So if you guys are not aware what Apollo is like a database where like, I'll kind of just show you guys right here. Probably easy for us to do that. But Apollo is literally just a place where you can get a bunch of contact information, like emails and phone numbers and stuff like that, right? But they're not good at categorizing specifically which company type you want to talk to, even though they're good at finding contact information like emails and phone numbers, right? So what we provide is we have a coaching program in which we will teach you how to do cold email, but essentially we will provide you with all of the scrapers. So for example, let's say you specifically want to talk to AI um, remote health companies who are like, software companies and stuff like that, right? And they also happen to have Series C funding and also recently happened to went to a, I don't know, recent remote health tech event or something like that, right? All you would do is you would just put that link of Crunchbase that you did the search on right here, right? In which we'll teach you how to do as well. Put it in there, right? You just click next, right? And the next step is just going to be scrape, right? So we'll deliver it to you. But essentially, all we need from these businesses is their website. We take down these people's websites who are like these websites where it's like your actual software companies. Maybe it's like 4,000 websites, right? We take those websites and then we put it into Apollo, right? We put it into Apollo because Apollo is good at finding the contact information where Crunchbase isn't, right? But Crunchbase is better at categorizing these remote health tech companies, but Apollo isn't, right? So we're combining two together, in which that is something that is very important that you guys should be doing as well, right? Definitely just don't rely on Apollo to be like finding your right leads. You might find a lot of like shitty ones that's just not worth talking to, right? So We have the scrapers that will provide for you that we use ourselves at our own agencies to fulfill for our own clients every day, right? And then what you're simply going to do is after Apollo, you scrape them down, right? In which the program will teach you how to do that. You scrape them down and then you put it into SMPT verification. So SMTP verification. So what this simply means is making sure the email accounts actually exist. They're not like bad email accounts and stuff like that. If you guys had a recent experience with cold email, maybe some minor ones, you guys probably understand this step a lot more, right? So if you, for people who don't understand though, essentially a lot of these databases, those email addresses are old. They're like old leads. They're not even like real email addresses anymore. We have to make sure they exist. If you don't make sure they exist, all of the subdomains, all of your email accounts that you made, they're all going to get blacklisted, which is the main reason why we never use your main domain for sending these cold emails, right? Now, next step, that lead humanization. So what this means is we have to do it through AI, right? But sometimes you are on a raw data sheet of 10,000 people, right? Your company name, that the people who are you're trying to talk to, their company names are their legal company name, what looks like that. Or it could be like all capitalized, which looks like this, right? In which in a cold email, if somebody was to say to me, they go, "Hey Brian, how would Pitchline LLC like XYZ solution?" Right? I'm not going to think that person sending that cold email to me is a real human being. Like there's no possible way they're a real human being, right? Like nobody would ever use my legal company name in an actual casual conversation with me. So we shouldn't use it in a cold email. So what we need to do is we have an API with OpenAI that will humanize all company names into for us, just Pitchline, because that is literally our company's name, right? But it'll do this for every single lead list that you guys will ever submit to us. So essentially, it's right here. So go to the company name humanizer, and then it will load for a bit, and then you'll kind of just submit your API key, right, in which will teach you how to deal within the program itself, and then it will just humanize everything for you, right? So it's ready for the actual outbound process, right? Next step, which is the market segmentation slash copywriting. So this is a bit important here. So essentially, let's say your ideal customer profile are within healthcare, but they're also within construction and they're also within, I don't know, finance, right? We don't want to put all three of those industries into one lead list and just start blasting the same emails to them. We don't want to do that, right? What we want to do is we want to do segmentation very heavily, right? Because what the medical industry wants to hear is different from what the finance industry wants to hear. So we want to go in different angles. We want to see which ones are winners, which ones are losers, right? So the winner is obviously the green, the losers the red. We take away the losers, right? And then send higher volume with only the winner, right? But I want to quickly go over what copywriting, how to actually do it, because a lot of people get this wrong. And I see a lot of business owners completely just killing their campaigns because they don't know how to do this, right? But essentially, there's only three simple rules you need to follow when it comes to copywriting. Do not overcomplicate this, okay? Around 50 words. So it should be under, technically speaking, but if it's around 50 words, it's good because it's easy to read, right? Because they don't have to like read through 120 words or something like that. There nobody's reading those. Like long cold emails, they see how long it is, they click on off of it, right? Number two, easy to skim. So what this simply means is there's no jargon within your email copies, right? If you're selling like a software product, in which a lot of you guys are, right? Do not be putting a bunch of these AI, SaaS, like jargon within there, right? Nobody cares about that. Make sure that it's easy to skim, right? And where they can understand it within like 2 seconds, right? Number three, easy to reply to. So you're not asking like four questions all at once. Like you want to ask one binary yes or no answer. Are you interested? That's literally it. You want them to say yes to the entire funnel. So yes, I'm interested. Okay, we'll be like, how does that time work? All right. And they'll be like, yes, that works. That's it. They just said yes twice. We booked a call, right? 300 calls a month. It's easy, guys. Seriously, this is stupidly easy. All right. Now, a couple of examples for you guys, which, you know, probably easy to understand, right? But essentially, there's three angles that we love the most. And then there's some honorable mention we'll go over. But essentially, first one is going to be lead magnet. Obviously, everyone likes free stuff. All right. So if you're a meta ads agency, we would say, could I give companies 3 free ad creatives centered around your top selling products? Like be images, carousels, UGCs, or a mix of all three, right? That's something just for free, right? It's super. If once you're interested, right, we just say, okay, let's get on a call with us. We'll actually make this detailed to your products specifically and stuff like that. You know, and I just get them on call. You know, case study angle. Hey Dave, the WAM team at Morgan Stanley decreased total man hours by 85% after implementing our trading software. Mind if I have company spin, right? So this part is wrong. Honestly, I don't know why I said I mind if I have, but mind if I give. That makes more sense, I think. Mind if I give? Yeah, there we go. So it makes more sense there. But essentially, that's the point, right? We're using a case study like Morgan Stanley. Like who doesn't know who Morgan Stanley is, right? If Morgan Stanley buys your product, that's like the equivalent of like any NBA player drinking Gatorade. Like you're not buying Gatorade because like you like the electrolytes or its taste. Like you're buying it because the NBA drinks it. You know what I mean? But that's kind of the gist of the case study angle, right? Whoever bought it, who was just like, he's the top dog, right? We might as well all buy it too, right? But next one, straight to offer. This is literally as simple as you can put it. This is what we do. Are you interested? Right? We just say our investors have a particular interest in AI firms and company has caught our attention. If our investment bank can get you in touch, would that be worth a chat? Right. So that's simply saying we have investors, we're an investment bank, right? We're looking to raise funding for you if you're looking for funding, right? Were you interested? Right, stuff like that. But there's some honorable mentions which you guys should also try out. So poke the bear, which really just means any pain point that you know that they're already suffering with, why not just poke it, right? Make sure you know what their pain point is though. Don't start saying like whatever random stuff. Use ChatGPT to do some research, but essentially hit the pain point that you know your prospects are suffering with, and then going with the solution, which is you, right? Number two, urgency. So this is create a limited time offer that creates urgency in the prospect. So what this simply means is, you can just say, oh, we're doing it for the first 7 customers, or we're doing this for the next 7 customers, or this ends in middle of summer or something like that, right? Anything like that, right? Urgency is always good angle, right? Combination. So combination means combining everything. You can do like case study, hey, the WAM team at Morgan Stanley decreased the total MAM hours by 85% after implementing our trading software. Mind if I give company a spin? Instead of saying a spin, right? We can just say, mind if I give company a free trial, right? Which is also a lead magnet, right? You can combine these if your company is comfortable offering it, right? Now, I understand there are many cases where you just can't offer anything for free. Like if you're an investment bank, maybe you can offer like a valuation for free, but you're not just gonna raise like $30 million for a company for free. Like it doesn't make any sense for you to do. You know what I mean? So I understand that, right? That's why there's many angles for you to test out, right? But after that, once you have your email copies, right, you're simply going to want to send them out, right? Obviously, there's little steps in between where you got to make sure the deliverability is there, like spin tags and stuff like that, which we'll teach you how to do, right? But essentially, right, after that, you're just going to start sending out these cold emails, right? You put it into Smartly, you put it into Instantly. So public and private infrastructure, I want to quickly go over what that means, right? So public infrastructure is where you're sharing a public server with other people, right? Sending cold emails. So these people could be trying to get like, legitimate clients through B2B cold emails while somebody else is using these like same server as you, sending like scammy cold emails. So like, I don't know if like many of you receive cold emails often, but the one I would get often would be like, hey, Brian, you have like a PayPal balance of $600 that you got to pay. I'm like, no, I don't. You know what I mean? Obviously it's a scam, right? I'm not paying like you $600. It's a scam, right? When Outlook and Google, which are the biggest providers for all email accounts, right? When they detect those are coming in from a server, the cheapest way for them to stop them is to blacklist the whole server. So when they blacklist it, the public server, so you might be on that same server as them, right? When you happen to be on the same server as them, your pipeline is a collateral damage of somebody else's mistakes in which we have no interest in doing whatsoever, right? So what we use at our own agency, right? Our pitch line, our own agency is private email sequencer. So our private infrastructure is essentially a private server with an IP address that we rotate every single month, right? But it's just a private email sequencer. Nobody's going to be able to hop on it, right? But here's a process flow between what either you choose looks like, which should be identical, okay? Like, so if they're interested through the master inbox, you should have an inbox manager book them in, right? So maybe it's you, maybe it's your inbox manager, but essentially book those people into the calendar, right? Not replying to you, you should have automated follow-up sequence to make sure they saw the email. If they're interested, book them in. Not interested, block these people, right? So essentially, if they're interested, you book them in. Not interested, block them. If they're not replying to you, like Christmas or Thanksgiving, which is actually coming up, right, pretty soon, people are going to miss emails, right? So essentially, when I just book these people in, we call it always be booking, right? But this is the entire process flow. As you can see, it's stupidly simple, all right? But understand that there's still medial steps in between where you guys do need to take, right? In which we will take care of that for you. Now, this program right here is literally free for 7 days. You can learn our entire system for free for 7 days, right? And use the tools that we use for free for 7 days. Okay. And then after that, if you guys were interested in something like this, right, it's gonna be $137 every single month, which really is not that expensive. Like you will learn an agency's process that's worth $4,000 a month. So we charge 4K a month per client, right? Where you guys can just literally have the same system that we use ourselves at our own agency, right? Learn how to do it, set it up yourself, and use every single tool that you will need, right? So a lot of these tools again you will need for sure, like company name, humanize it. Understand that not a single email campaign should go out until you've done this for your company name. So This is a must use every single lead list that has. But essentially, that's it. Check it out in the description. I'll put the link in the description if you guys are interested. Thanks a lot.